Well, I would like to welcome you to our second event, our second online event. And today we are interviewing another woman that everyone should know if they don't already, and that's Lisa Swarthout. Lisa has been a local business owner, an entrepreneur, comes from a family that's very well connected in the community and has really chosen to serve her community in ways that have had tremendous impact over the last 16 years on the Grass Valley City Council, and most recently as part of that as the mayor. So I'd like to welcome you, Lisa, to the show today.
Thanks, Barb. It's really great to be here with you, and I'm so appreciative of the work that you're doing with Indivisible Women to promote women in the community, whether that's through their activism or running for office or supporting candidates. I really respect the work that you guys all do.
That's awesome. And that's just such a great lead into all of the topics, or most of the topics that I wanted to cover today, because we talk about and get really tied into and caught up in the national politics. And one of the things that I've learned through my work with Indivisible Women is that the majority of the impact of our day-to-day lives really comes from local politics. And so that's kind of the context I want to jump into this conversation. And truth be told, to those people out there, Lisa and I have known each other for a very long time. We went to high school together. So it's super fun to be connected in
just last year, just graduated. Just 5-year reunion coming up.
I can't wait for that 5-year reunion. Yeah, super fun to be connected for all of these years. So let's jump into that. Just give us a little bit of kind of background on where you come from, how you came to your civic duty and running for office, and your connection to the community.
Sure. So thanks. So, after high school, as many of us, I left and went away to college, and I lived in San Francisco for a while, but I really had this desire to move back to Grass Valley. My family was still here, and, I had worked in the family business for many years and just really wanted to get back into the small town. So after I got married, I brought my transplant husband from the Bay Area with me, and I opened a business in downtown Grass Valley. So I had a clothing store for 30 years, just retired last summer. But as part of being in the downtown community, there are local appointed positions that come up where you make decisions that will affect what happens in downtown. And I was really interested in that. So I was elected to the Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce first, and worked with them on some of the things that they were doing for Grass Valley at the time. And then I was asked to serve on a city committee. It's an appointment by the city council called the Development Review Committee, which was an architectural review committee. So you look at buildings that are coming in, you decide, if they fit the aesthetics, if the use is appropriate, and then it gets moved on to the next level, which is the planning commission. So I did that for a couple of years. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the city process and learning about what was going on. So after that, I was asked to apply to be on the planning commission, which is also a city appointed committee. And it is for anybody who's interested in running for local city council or even for the board of supervisors. Planning commissions are a great place to start, because you learn probably the number one issue that you have an impact over is land use and what the environment of your community is going to look like. So I was appointed to the planning commission in 1995. I stayed there for 9 years until I got elected to the city council for my first term in 2004. But previous to getting elected the first time, I did run twice and didn't win. So the word that I like to use is perseverance. If there's something that you really want to do, you envision it for yourself and you figure out what you did wrong the first couple of times and you go for it. And for me, the third time was the charm.
That's awesome. And what was running for office? What did that look like, and how did you do it? Like, what's the process, and then how do you run a campaign for a local office like that?
So, the city council, typically there will either be 2 or 3 seats available depending upon the year. And so, basically what you need to do is the city will announce the openings, and they create a packet of information that you need to go and pick up, particularly for Grass Valley City Council. You have to get 30 signatures of city residents who are registered to vote to qualify for the ballot to be on the Grass Valley City Council, there's 3 qualifications. You need to live, your permanent residence needs to be in the city limits of Grass Valley. You need to be over the age of 18, and you need to be registered to vote. So that's the criteria for it. I always like to throw the 4th thing in there, which is what compelled me to run, is that you really, truly need to love the city and love the community, and you need to want to make it a great place. So that was my motivation for being involved with the Planning Commission, and then, running for city council. And it's a lot is dependent upon how many people are in the race, and if you're running against incumbents. The first time I ran was the first time I did a big campaign. I raised $10,000. I did mailers. I had a great endorsement list. I took it very much for granted because I had been on the Planning Commission and I felt like I knew everything. And I lost by 196 votes. So I learned a really valuable lesson that you never take anything for granted. And in politics, you have to realize that people tell you what you think you want to hear versus telling you the truth. So no matter how many people say they're going to vote for you or they're going to support you, the reality hits home when on election day, when you see truly how many people did support you and vote for you. So never take anything for granted is one of the rules that I learned early on. So when I ran the 3rd time, there was actually 3 seats. There were 3 candidates, and then there were write-ins. So they had the election, and I was elected. And then that was in 2004. And in 2008, I ran for re-election, and there were actually, I believe, 6 candidates for the 3 seats for that. So that was a full-blown election, and you need to raise some money. Yard signs are very important in the city of Grass Valley because you're in a specific geographical area. So it's not like a countywide thing where you have to put signs all over the place. You really need to get them into individual people's yards. And people see that, and they see, oh, my neighbor is supporting that person. That goes a long way in the community. Some people will do a mailer. The other very effective thing in Grass Valley is to walk door to door. I worked with a couple people who had very little name recognition, but one woman she literally walked door to door at the entire city of Grass Valley and was elected. It's a little harder right now because of COVID about how people are going to be able to campaign. So I'm going to say probably for this election cycle, people are going to need to be willing to make phone calls to people, be willing to write handwritten notes to people, and to really call on your friends and neighbors to support you through those same tactics of handwritten letters and making phone calls on your behalf. I don't see people being able to go door to door. And also the other way, is people raise money by doing events, which obviously there's no events right now. So raising money is going to be a little bit harder with, basically picking up the phone and calling people and asking for campaign contributions.
All right, so let's go back. So it's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing here, Indivisible Women, and having conversations like we're having today, is to help inform our community what positions are open, what it looks like when you run, and also be a channel for the voices of those people who are running, because we have to do things differently this cycle. So it will be different, but hopefully innovation will help. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think that definitely having a strong social media presence is going to be really important in this election. The other thing that will be important for people to know you as a candidate, because a lot of people won't have the opportunity to meet people, is a very strong candidate statement that goes into all the campaign information, or the voter pamphlet that you're going to get from the county. So part of the process for running for Grass Valley City Council is you have to, there's a filing fee, and then there's a candidate statement fee. And with that, you have a 150-word statement that tells a little bit about who you are. And I believe the candidate statement can be very impactful. There potentially will be 1 or 2 sentences in there that will resonate with a voter that you have that maybe your opponent doesn't. So, people who are considering running, that's something that you definitely want to take seriously, and maybe even hire a professional writer to help you with. So the candidate statement, the filing fee, the application for everything for Grass Valley City Council is going to be due next week. If you're an incumbent for Grass Valley City Council, you would have to be, you'd have to put your papers in by this Friday. But if there are one or more incumbents who do not run for re-election, then it gets extended out another 3 days, which will take us into the 12th. So there's still opportunity. If people are interested in running for Grass Valley City Council and you live in the city limits, you can call the city. The information is actually on our website, and make an appointment with our clerk, and she will go over the whole packet and give it to you, and then you make an appointment with her to turn it back in. It's a pretty simple process, but you do need to get 30 signatures of people who are registered to vote in the district.
And so then the deadline is the 12th, I think.
The 12th.
For applications there.
Right. And I believe that's Grass Valley and Nevada City, because Nevada City is having a special election for the one position that they have open in November.
Right. And how many positions are open in the Grass Valley City Council?
So in Grass Valley, there's 3, and there's one incumbent, Jan Arbuckle, who is running for re-election, and then myself and Howard Levine, who are not running for re-election. So there's 3 seats, 2 without incumbents. So, and I will say it is harder. In 2016, when we ran, there were only 3 of us for the 3 seats, which was in my view, even though I didn't have to run an election, which is some way a little bit of a relief. I was disappointed because part of the election process is getting out there and talking about your ideas and talking about what you want to see the community look like and what you're passionate about in regard to the city. So we didn't get to do that 4 years ago, but they will have the opportunity this time, because it sounds like, I believe there's 4 or 5 people who pulled papers for the Grass Valley City Council race, but there's still opportunity for more. Not everybody that pulls them will turn them back in.
That's great. And can you give us some examples in the last couple of cycles of some of the accomplishments that you're really the most kind of proud of from a Grass Valley City Council point of view? So to help people understand the types of decisions, oftentimes I think we see these positions that are out there, but we're not quite sure which areas of responsibility those positions hold. And the opportunity for impact. So like when you look at the city council and things like the school board, we've got, school board is a very important topic right now because we've got so many decisions about whether or not children are going to go back to school and the response to COVID. And so I think that the more people can understand about the impact of some of these positions, and we have, I read somewhere that we have something like 90 positions open in this community at the county and city, local level. So there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of positions to be filled. So give us a sense of the types of things that at the city council level you guys have impacted.
Sure, absolutely. So the city council is a policy making board. We operate what's called a city manager, city council form of government. So ultimately the city manager, he runs the city with the different departments. So he oversees the fire chief and the police chief and the finance director and the public works director. So the city manager truly is the one who is responsible for the day-to-day operations in conjunction with that team of people. So the city manager works for the city council, and everybody else who works for the city of Grass Valley works for the city manager. So one of the things that you do not have responsibility or any sort of control over is who works at the city other than that top position of city manager. So that's why the city manager role is so important, because you want to make sure that whoever is in that top job shares the values and the community commitment that your council does. We're very lucky in Grass Valley that we have a great city manager. So some of the things that you're responsible for, and I'm going to give you a perfect example of something that's happening right now. So with COVID, we've had to make some policy decisions and some changes to really react quickly to help our business community. And our city manager and our chief of police have been talking for the last couple of months about closing Mill Street down to offer greater opportunities for shoppers and people in the restaurants. And the city council, we've kind of gone back and forth with it because there's definitely pros and cons to doing it. So a couple of weeks ago, when Governor Newsom announced that restaurants would not be allowed to serve inside anymore and they had to all be outside, our city manager came to us with an emergency meeting and said, here's a plan for what we want to do. We need to close the street. So that was a decision that the city council made. It was a policy decision to close down Mill Street to allow for those restaurants to be able to come out onto the street and, be able to still do business during COVID times. We had another meeting recently to determine we're going to close the rest of the street. And this goes back to where you come into play as a city council person with something like this, is that you're the first front with the public and with the business owners. So when those decisions are made and people see things happening, I've been the first person who's getting the phone calls. When we closed down the street that Wednesday morning at like 7 o'clock, my phone started ringing at 7:30 because we didn't communicate it very well. So, we fixed it. We got the notice out to everybody, and it's been pretty successful. The community has really loved it. But those are the kinds of things that you have to do and decisions you have to make. And you have to realize that not everybody's going to be 100% happy with the decisions that you make. And, I always say you're successful as an elected official if half the people love you and half the people hate you, because on different issues. And I've had that. I've had the same people love me on one issue and hate me on another. And I feel like I've done a good job if I'm equally hated by both groups or equally liked by both groups in the community. So, that's what helps you develop the thick skin that you need in the age of social media. We say now that Twitter and Facebook sometimes forms our public policy. We don't like to think that in Grass Valley, but unfortunately that is the reality.
Well, and I look at the action that you took in the city of Grass Valley and the way that was all implemented, very well done. I mean, that's a model for how to, in my eyes, to quickly move into action and then to do something that looks really pleasing. It's just really well done. So, and it makes, as a community member, it makes me happy that there is a community response that is benefiting the businesses, because we all want our businesses to thrive. And so I think it's a great example of that.
Right. Well, and I think you had made a comment that, kind of where it all starts really is truly with local government, and where people in the community, where you can have the biggest impact on any sort of policy is at the local level. When people come to our city council meetings, especially show up in large numbers, we pay attention, because those are the people who have to live with the decisions that we make. So truly, if you decide that you don't have the time or the desire to serve on a board or serve on a council, but you are passionate about an issue, and it's an issue that would affect the jurisdiction, either a school district or the city or at the county level, show up, because elected officials pay a lot of attention to the people who are sitting in the room.
That's such a great piece of advice. And sometimes I think we forget how, and certainly today, all of those meetings are being done over tools like Zoom. So it is possible to join from your living room, but to show up in a room where those decisions are being made and being able to voice your opinion, I think that's a great piece of advice at how people can get engaged. And one of the things that we advocate at Indivisible Women is that we really want people to get involved at whatever level they feel comfortable getting involved in. So if that's just being, grateful for people that are out marching in the streets, or if it's applying to run for a political office, or it's showing up at a, city council meeting or a school board meeting, or doing something, taking some kind of action, that's what's going to help us make the changes that we want to see in our communities. So we've got city council races in both Grass Valley and Nevada City. We've got the Nevada County Board of Supervisors. There are both elected positions and then appointed positions throughout those organizations. We've got the school boards. We've got the water district, NID. I don't know if everybody has open positions, but there are a tremendous number of places for people to serve, right? What else is out there?
Absolutely. I mean, so, at the county level, there are a lot of appointed positions that come along, either that are appointed by an individual supervisor, depending upon the district that you live in, or just at large general positions with various, either, the mental health board, there's the airport commission, that there's all sorts of opportunities depending upon what your interests are to be involved. And it pays to know like what supervisorial district that you live in. So you can, if you go to the mynevadacounty.com and you go to the elections page, you can type in your address and it'll tell you which district that you live in. Here's a little trick that people aren't always aware of, to know whether you live in the city limits or you live in the county. So if you live in the city of Grass Valley or in the city limits of Nevada City, you have a 3-digit address. In a few cases in Grass Valley, you have a 4-digit address. And if you live in the county, you have a 5-digit address. So if you live in the 5 digits, you're not eligible to run for city council, but you would be eligible to run for supervisor. So the supervisorial race is a little bit different. They are elected in the March primary, and if one or more if your candidate gets 50% plus 1, you're elected. If you get less than 50%, then there would be a runoff in the November election. So there were 2 seats, or actually 3 seats up in the county in this March. So Ed Schofield ran unopposed for the District 2, and then Hardy Bullock will be the new supervisor from District 5 from Truckee. He also ran unopposed. Heidi Hall ran, and she had 2 opponents, but she received 50% plus 1 of the vote. So moving forward, she was reelected to another 4 years. So they get elected in March, but they actually don't start their term until the first Tuesday in January. Oh. So that's when the board changes over. So for the city council races, you have as many people who run, and the top, like in case of Grass Valley, if there's 6 people who are running, the top 3 people will be the ones who are elected. So the top 3 vote getters will be elected. And the same thing in Nevada City, the top 1 vote getter will be elected. So it's a little bit different. And because they changed the primary this last year, the Nevada City Council always runs in the primary, which had typically been in June, and they got seated in July. This time they got elected in March, but they didn't get seated until July. So it's kind of interesting. With Grass Valley, you get elected in the November, and then you're seated the second Tuesday of December to start your term.
So many exciting opportunities. What in closing, what is the one thing that you want people to know, to walk away from, particularly women in our community, that you want them to know from this conversation?
You know, I think that if you are passionate about something and you care about your community, a great way to be involved is to run for a board, and don't be afraid of not winning. Put your name out there, work your hardest to get elected, but truly that is the way that you make a difference. And there are people who run for, especially for, I want to say, school boards, and I've seen a little bit of it going on right now with the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools office, and then also with the Nevada Union Joint District, is that there are people who have a particular agenda that they want to see, kind of their districts abide by. And when I see things like that, I find it very troubling, because I think if you want to be on a school board, you need to care about education, and you need to care about the kids, and not just a certain group of kids, but all kids. If you want to serve on the Grass Valley City Council or on the Board of Supervisors, you really need to care overall about the whole community and not just be a single issue person. So if you're passionate and you really feel like you can make a contribution as a policymaker in the community, I really urge people, and especially women, to run. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and as part of my work as a city council person, you sit on some subcommittees, and you do some special things. And I can remember 12 and 14 years ago being the only woman, in a group of 10 pretty much middle-aged old men, and the conversation that was going on around me was appalling. And that has changed. Right now in Grass Valley, there's 3 women who sit on the city council. The county's getting better. There's 2 women who serve on the Board of Supervisors. Many of our school boards have a majority of women. So, and I really feel like we are well poised out there to do the work. We work hard. We care about our community. You know, the moms and my friends who've been on school boards, both male and female, have truly done it because they cared about the kids in the community. My friends who serve on community boards like city councils and supervisors, they do it because they care about the community. So, you know, that's my pitch to everybody. Don't be fearful. I ran twice before I won, but I finally did, and I feel like some of the work I've done has definitely made a difference in Grass Valley. So if you care about it, I urge you to really get out there. And also, I'm happy to talk individually to anybody who is interested in running for any of, especially the city seats. So you can reach me through the City of Grass Valley website. If you go to www.cityofgrassvalley.com and you go to council and click on my name, all my contact information is there. So more than happy to talk individually to anybody who might be interested in running for the Grass Valley City Council.
That is fantastic. Well, you have been such an advocate for women and have been such an example of taking a leadership role in the community and really making a difference. And that's exactly the model that Indivisible Women really advocates, is how do we step into our power and how do we use that for good? So appreciate you taking the time to spend with us this morning, Lisa, and congratulations on all the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this, Barb. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the work of Indivisible Women in our county. You know, I'll never forget after the 2016 election when your group started and I saw the passion and the power that went into it. It gave me hope. It gave me hope that the 2020 election is going to be a different outcome. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. And we're all going to work to make sure that the 2020 election is going to have a good outcome. So I appreciate that. All right.
Great.
Thanks, Lisa. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.